Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're looking at something called Augmented Pattern Dashboards, APDs for short.
Right. Think of them not like your personal fitness tracker, but more like vital sign gauges for the whole planet.
Exactly. Taking all this complex Earth data and boiling it down into simple signals. Green, yellow, red, constantly updated.
And the core idea really is about speed. How do we dramatically cut down the time between spotting environmental stress?
Seeing something starting to go wrong.
And actually doing something about it.
Yeah.
It's pretty fundamental if you want to stay informed without getting bogged down in, endless reports.
For sure. And our sources for this are the Augmented Pattern Dashboards, Earth's Vital Signs Brief, plus some really interesting notes on something called the Global Neighborhood Network and how this whole Earth Situation Center concept has evolved over time.
So our focus today is really on the tangible impacts. What could this kind of real-time planetary health check actually mean on the ground for individuals, for communities, all the way up to global goals?
Okay, let's make this concrete. We all kind of get how a pulse-oximeter works for health, right? That little clip on your finger.
Yeah, quick snapshot. Oxygen level, pulse.
So imagine an app. Let's call it Planet Pulse. Same idea, but for Earth's vital signs.
And in this vision, it would initially track, say, 5 key things. You've got carbon in the air, CO2 equivalent, basically the planet's breathing.
Okay.
Then ocean heat, super important for weather. Forest health, biodiversity, climate regulation, all that.
Right.
Freshwater availability, which impacts, well, everything from farming to drinking water.
Makes sense.
And finally, the supply of critical mineral stuff we need for all the tech that's shaping things.
And like those health apps, Planet Pulse uses that simple color code everyone gets. Green's okay, yellow's a worry, red's critical.
Plus, crucially, a little arrow showing the trend over the last 7 days. Are things getting better, worse, or staying the same? Instant context.
So how does this high-level global view actually make a difference to someone, say, a farmer?
Okay, great question. Let's paint a picture. Imagine a farmer in Punjab, maybe in 2030. He pulls out his phone, checks Planet Pulse before deciding on irrigation.
And he sees.
The freshwater gauge for his region is yellow, and the arrow's pointing down. Worrying trend.
So it's not just a global number, it's localized.
Exactly. And the app, because it's connected to more local data too, might flash up a suggestion. Hold off irrigating today. Soil moisture readings suggest waiting 24 hours.
Wow.
It could even link him to a local community platform. Maybe a bore well sharing scheme, coordinating water use with neighbors.
So it directly informs his decision, protects his resources, maybe even his livelihood.
That's the idea. Immediate, actionable, localized intelligence.
Okay, let's shift scenes. Vancouver City Hall, same year, 2030. Maybe there's a big screen on the wall showing these Planet Pulse indicators.
Right. And suddenly, the heat stress indicator for the city flips to red. Sharp upward arrow.
Oof. So it's not just data sitting there?
No, it's a trigger. It could automatically push out a flexible work advisory across the city, ease the strain on transport, energy.
And maybe open cooling centers.
Instantly.
Yeah.
Pre-planned responses kicking in based on that real-time data feed. Becomes about proactive protection for the community.
That's powerful. But it's not just about authorities reacting, is it? You mentioned citizen involvement.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's take another example. A teenager in Nairobi, 2030. She's using Planet Pulse, maybe exploring data layers near her home.
And she sees something.
A sudden red spike in forest loss nearby. Something feels off.
What can she do?
This is where the Global Neighborhood Network, the GNN, comes in. It's imagined as the ground truth mesh.
Ground truth mess.
Yeah. The app might have an AR feature, like a sort of environmental treasure hunt. She could go to the area, pinpointed by the alert, use her phone, maybe see signs of trees being cut down illegally. She snaps photos, adds a note, possible illegal logging here, and submits it as a pulse note, tagged with time and location.
So people on the ground verifying or adding detail to the satellite data.
Exactly. The GNN concept involves this incredibly fine grid across the planet, maybe 2-kilometer squares in rural areas, down to 500-meter squares in cities.
Wow, that's detailed.
And anyone can potentially contribute these pulse notes through an app, maybe even basic SMS for areas with less connectivity, or bulk uploads from local groups.
What kind of things would people report?
All sorts. Land use changes they see, the state of a local stream, is it flowing, is it drying up, presence or absence of key species. Things satellites often miss, like damage under a forest canopy or the condition of really small waterways.
It creates a much richer, more immediate picture. But how do you trust all that input?
Good point. There's a built-in trust rule. An alert wouldn't typically be triggered by just one pulse node.
Okay.
You'd need, say, 3 independent matching reports from the same small area. Or a single pulse node gets flagged if it's corroborated by satellite data looking at the same spot.
Ah, so cross-verification builds confidence.
Precisely. It's about blending the macro view from space with the micro view from the ground reliably.
Okay, so we've seen the power locally, the farmer, the city officials, the teenager. How does all that local detail feed back into those big global vital signs we started with?
That's the beauty of it. It's designed as an integrated system. All those verified local pulse nodes alongside the constant streams from satellites, sensor networks, official monitoring stations.
It all gets crunched together.
Right, aggregated and analyzed. That combined intelligence is what powers those 5 main global gauges on Planet Pulse. So the farmer's water observation, Vancouver's heat spike, the Nairobi report, they all contribute context and data points to that global picture.
So in phase 1, the focus is really on tracking those big 5 we mentioned: CO2 equivalents, ocean heat anomaly, the global freshwater stress index, the pace of net forest loss, and that critical mineral supply gap.
Yes, drawing data from established sources initially. Think organizations like the Stockholm Resilience Center, NASA,
Right.
Global Forest Watch, the IEA.
Yeah.
Credible global data providers.
And with that real-time global view, you mentioned something like policy tripwires.
Yeah, imagine this. The system detects forest loss in a specific sensitive region exceeding a certain threshold for, say, 3 weeks straight.
Okay.
That could automatically trigger a notification, not just an alert on the app, but maybe an official notification to companies known to have supply chains originating in that region.
Whoa, so, like, heads up, your sourcing area is showing a sustained red flag for deforestation.
Exactly. It connects the dots directly. You mentioned the EU deforestation regulation earlier. A system like this could provide the near real-time verifiable data to actually enforce regulations like that.
So it could lead to maybe companies pausing shipments, investigating suppliers, real consequences.
That's the potential.
Yeah.
Driving corporate and regulatory action based on live environmental data, not just annual reports.
And looking further ahead.
Phase 2, the vision gets even more tailored. Think hyperlocal overlays, not just the global freshwater gauge, but one specifically for your watershed, or a heat stress index for your city block.
That's more personal.
And then behavioral nudges.
Ah, yes, the nudges. Tell me more.
So the Planet Pulse app, noticing maybe a yellow for air quality locally, could pop up a suggestion. Consider walking or using public transport today, maybe with a direct link to the local bus schedule.
Just simple prompts.
Yeah, what can I do now? Making the connection between the data and simple everyday actions.
And you also touched on finance. How could APDs link into loans and trading?
Well, imagine sustainability-linked loans. A company might get a better interest rate if the APD metrics in the areas they operate show consistent green lights or improving trends.
Okay, an incentive.
Conversely, red alerts for, say, water scarcity in their key agricultural supply region could raise flags for investors, impacting risk assessment.
And commodity traders.
They might watch these dashboards like hawks, anticipating potential resource constraints or maybe tariffs linked to environmental performance in certain regions. It weaves planetary health directly into economic calculations.
So pulling this all together, the grand vision is what? To democratize this planetary intelligence.
Exactly. To shift from these static, often months-old reports to a living, breathing civic infrastructure. Something that empowers everyone, from individuals to global bodies, to become daily stewards of the planet, because the information is right there, clear and current.
And you're saying the tech, it's mostly here.
Largely, yes. Open satellite data is exploding. Sensors are getting cheaper and better. And look at the citizen science movement platforms like iNaturalist or OpenStreetMap show millions are willing to contribute observations. The culture is growing.
So what's the missing piece?
It's largely that fusion layer. The common code, the shared protocols, the smart systems to pull all these incredibly diverse data streams together, satellites, ground sensors, citizen pulse nodes, into one coherent, intuitive dashboard that anyone can access and understand.
And if listeners are thinking, wow, I want this, what can they do?
Well, for a start, you can check out the alpha mockup. It's at planet-pulse.org. Gives you a feel for it.
Okay, planet-pulse.org.
And maybe more tangibly, embrace the idea of claiming your neighborhood hex. Imagine being able to virtually adopt your local area on this grid and start contributing those pulse nodes. Your small observation about a local stream or tree cover adds to that global understanding.
It really reframes local action as part of a global feedback loop.
It does. We're talking about giving the planet that live pulse oximeter, providing that constant feedback so individuals, communities, corporations, governments, everyone can make better, faster, more informed choices.
It fosters that sense of shared responsibility based on shared information.
Right. Which leads to maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to take away. Imagine if the planet pulse indicator for your town, your neighborhood, blinked red this morning. Seeing that clear signal, what's one thing you'd feel compelled to do before sunset?
That really brings it home. It shifts it from abstract data to immediate personal relevance. The potential for real engagement there is huge.